Lewis Hamilton leaving Mercedes has created a huge empty space that needs to be filled. It's not just about finding a new driver, but also keeping the workers happy at the Mercedes factories in Brackley and Brickworth. Hamilton had really good friendships with most of the important people there, including his race helper Peter Bonington, who everyone calls Bono. The team knows there's a big danger that lots of Mercedes workers might leave before the 2025 season starts. So with one last full season together, how will things go between Hamilton and Mercedes? And more importantly, will the workers trust the seven-time champion more than they trust the team? It's pretty clear that Hamilton's choice to leave Mercedes wasn't easy for him, but he made this decision because he felt something wasn't going right with the team. The Brackley team didn't want to listen to his ideas about how to make the car better for a couple of years. When they finally did listen, it was way too late. That's why Hamilton asked the engineers to admit their mistakes about how bad the W13 and W14 cars were, but a big group of those engineers, led by Bono, might be leaving the team to go with Hamilton to Ferrari. When a superstar moves from one team to another, it's never something a team wants to deal with. It usually causes much bigger problems for the team than they first thought it would. That's what happened when Red Bull was shocked by Vettel's move back in 2014. It's very likely that the same thing will happen to Mercedes now that Hamilton has signed with Ferrari. Just like Vettel said, everybody is a Ferrari fan, even when they say they're not. When talking about driving for Ferrari starting in 2025, Hamilton said he feels incredibly lucky after doing amazing things with Mercedes that he could only dream of as a kid. He now has the chance to make another childhood dream come true, driving in Ferrari Red. But of course, Hamilton didn't achieve all his success at Mercedes by himself. He had help from some of the smartest people the sport has ever seen, like Peter Bonington, Loic Serra, James Allison, and many more. The big worry for Mercedes is that most of these famous engineers are close to joining Ferrari too. Following the seven-time world champion, if they choose to do this, they will probably take a huge group of very experienced workers who work directly under them. So this puts Mercedes in big danger before the 2025 season starts. The team has already talked about what will happen to Hamilton's race helper Bono in the future. Bono has worked as Hamilton's race helper for quite a long time, but now it looks like his future is also unclear with the seven-time champion leaving. This very tricky situation could mess up the friendship between Bono and Mercedes. Bono's contract with Mercedes ends at the end of the 2025 season. Unlike Hamilton, he doesn't have the choice to leave the team with a special rule. If he wants to be bought out of the Brackley team, it would cost him his own money. But thinking about the fact that there could be bad chemistry between Bono and the new driver who would replace Hamilton, maybe this is something Mercedes would rather do than try to hold a grudge against the seven-time world champion and ruin the perfect teamwork they had until now. According to Wolff, the topic of replacing Bono will definitely come up in the next few days or weeks. This is because everyone expects that both he and Hamilton would want to keep working together on the same team. Explaining this more, Wolff said he thinks this is something that everybody needs to talk about in the months ahead. He also said that when he told Bono about Hamilton's move, Bono asked if it was April Fool's Day. That's something they'll discuss in the future. If Bono doesn't move to Ferrari, then it's clear that Hamilton will have to work with Leclerc's race helper Riccardo Adami. Not to say anything bad about both of Ferrari's race helpers, but so far one of the biggest problems with the team was the human mistakes. More exactly, they weren't able to finish a full race without making a dumb mistake or a silly error. Hamilton knows this better than anyone else, so he definitely wouldn't have the patience to ask his race helper 10 times about the race plan, or about which tires to use. This definitely suggests that he's pushing for a situation where he will work with Bono again. Bono leaving Mercedes is just the beginning of all of Mercedes' problems. For example, Hamilton's friendships with most of the engineers back in the factories will definitely be used by him to try to get them to come to Ferrari. As I said earlier in this video, superstars leaving teams definitely bring bigger risks with them. That, as Mercedes said in their own words, a massive exodus could happen in the team. After all, a seven-time world champion has left the team after a 12-year time with the Silver Arrows. You get to know almost everyone who works closely with you, so this is putting Mercedes in a bad situation before the 2024 season starts. To make things worse, they can't do anything to stop it. They just have to go along with it and see what happens. Besides Bono, it looks like another important member of Mercedes, Riccardo Mosconi, is said to be leaving the team. Riccardo is currently the head of trackside performance. Thinking about the fact that he's Italian and was born in Imola, just down the road from Maranello, he could be switching his job very quickly if he chooses to follow Serra and Hamilton's path. It's clear that Mercedes will be in big danger of having their secrets leaked in 2024 from everyone. At this point, it's basically Wolff and the rest of the Mercedes F1 owners against the entire team when it comes to convincing them that it's Hamilton who is wrong for leaving them. It's not because of a mistake in how the team works. The team would be very careful when it comes to sharing information about the 2025 and 2026 developments with Hamilton. This is mostly because he'll be taking all of that information to Ferrari. But according to Wolff, the team has nothing but the greatest respect for Hamilton. They will treat him and Russell with equal respect before the new season starts. When talking about this, Wolff said he thinks what he's always tried to do as a team leader, and all of them at Mercedes, is to be honest and fair. Nothing's going to change about that in 2024. They owe it to their beliefs and their racing goals, how they go about things, and they will respect that. He will make sure that the driver will respect it too when it comes to development going forward. He thinks it's something they need to look at. The rules stay pretty much the same for 2025. They will decide later in the season what it means for sharing technical information, but that's not something that bothers him at all. They have engineers that leave them and go to other teams, and the notice periods are sometimes as short as 6 months. Furthermore, Wolff said that he doesn't have any doubt about Lewis's honesty when it comes to sharing information with Ferrari in 2024, so he will definitely make sure that the 2024 season will be one to remember for both sides. However, the big surprise that Hamilton dropped on Mercedes means that he will stop at nothing when it comes to getting the 8th championship in his career. For this reason, there is almost no chance that he won't help Ferrari by sharing information in 2024 if that information turns out to be valuable and helpful for his car in 2025. Ferrari has also been constantly trying to steal away workers from Red Bull and Mercedes. All of this could be traced back to talking to one of the most respected important members from the Silver Arrows, Loic Serra. Loic was the head of vehicle performance at Mercedes, but he left that job earlier in 2023 to complete his move for Ferrari's 2025 campaign. According to reports, Serra thought that the W13 and W14 projects were completely wrong because of the long wheelbase and floor, but since it was Mike Elliott who led the project, he didn't make any of those changes that Serra suggested. Just like him, Hamilton also had his worries about how these two cars performed. This is why both of them are now together at the same team starting in 2025. It could very well be that Serra has talked with Hamilton about the car that Ferrari is building for 2025 and 2026. More importantly, how different it is from what Hamilton has been driving at Mercedes. The British driver will definitely use this knowledge to convince the important engineers in Brackley. This will mean more bad news for Mercedes, as they now have two very respected people leaving their team because of a mistake in their thinking. This would be a huge burden on James Allison to fix the W15. The statements about developing the 2024 car are quite positive from both Allison and Wolff. But when you have the 7-time world champion leaving your team weeks before even testing it out in Bahrain, it definitely doesn't look good for your reputation. After all, Hamilton said many times that he knows what a car needs and what it doesn't. This time Mercedes seems to have built what a car does not need to be competitive for the 3rd year in a row. What do you think about the potential high-profile staff exodus from Mercedes? Let us know in the comments below.